Okay, today's a bit of a different day. We're going to be working on some YouTube intros. And I've got Tinkerman Mick with me. We're going to start with his one. I think we're going to do a little bit of laser cutting. I had grand plans of redoing mine with a bit of black powder involved. But yeah, anyway, the black powder no longer exists. We'll go into that later. What I do happen to have is some flash paper of origin unknown. I'm not quite sure about the legalities of this, so we're going to get rid of this nice and quick. I also have a little bit of gun cotton here, which I'm told ships wet, so we have to roll that out and dry. We're going to find a way to integrate this because I don't like having stuff like this laying around. We want to get rid of it, so we're going to make a nice dramatic intro video. But first we'll go into some of the behind the scenes stuff about Tinkerman Mick's logo. So we're going to start you off with some AutoCAD stuff. He came to me with his logo and wanted to get it converted to a CAD vector format, probably in DXF, I think is what we're going to end up doing. Yeah, we'll do a little time lapse of that. And then we'll go to some laser cutting, which we'll probably end up using for his intro video. And while we're there, we'll have a muck around and see if we can come up with something interesting and dramatic for mine. So yeah, this will be interesting. So next step, enjoy some AutoCAD work. There's about 30 seconds of it, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now that all the CAD stuff's done for Mick's logo, we're going to go and put it through the laser cutter here. We're going to do a bit of cutting, and I'll show you some of the samples of the footage that we're playing with for his logo. Got a few ideas from there, and then after that we're going to go and cut my logo, and then I'm going to try some pyrotechnic effects, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, now we have this random collection of pieces which will make sense as I put it all together, and some very delicate bits too. This will all make sense when everything's assembled. But if you want to see Tinkerman Mick's logo, I'm going to put a link to his channel below, and probably a link to the intro video that he finally came up to. There's a few different types and styles we tried with, but I'll run a couple of those different ideas through, and then we'll do a couple with mine as well. We'll see what happens. But right now, I've got a date with some super glue, and hopefully I don't glue my fingers to the bench this time. I seem to be pretty good at it every time I use super glue, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so I've got my logo cut and assembled. Now the next trick is to set up the whole filming area, which is going to require a little bit of mucking around with a vise here. So if I get this right, I can set the camera up here, and I can put my logo in here, have it facing rearwards, so when everything pops out, it doesn't fly into my face, it flies in a safe direction. Now, you've probably seen me assembling this in that montage. What's actually in here, there's a sheet of flash paper behind it and a little bit of gun cotton on the top. I've got to use all this stuff up pretty quick because I don't want it laying around. And again, legality is a bit of a question in this, so if I just get rid of it, that's done for. So let's get all this set up and hopefully we can film it. Now, I had a bit of a think, and I think the way I'm going to do this is at a slight angle. I don't want all this lettering popping out before I'm ready. So I'm going to set it at a comfortable angle about there. Now there's some good sunlight coming in through the window behind it, so it's not backlit. We should get a good angle on the whole thing. And that's not going to sit straight, we need more blue tack. Blue tack is magic stuff. Should be right here. I'm taking my time because I don't know how many shots at this I'll have, but this could potentially blow up. This stuff's been drying for a while. I don't know what its burn rate is. I haven't really tested it, which I probably should. So let's get this camera in position. All right, we're getting this set up. I think I'm going to need some additional lighting. Where are we? Let's move our overhead light over here. Position that way. How does that look? Let's come in from this side. What do you reckon, guys? Does that look all right? I hope it does. Looks a little funny, but this will be interesting. Push all that back in. The cotton's sitting a little bit high here, so it's not quite how I would have liked it. But you know what? Let's just go with it. Now, let's get that nicely centered. And I think a little bit more blue tack to hold that down. So another big blob of blue tack. Now I have some polycarbonate sheeting here that I would normally put between the camera and this. But I'm going to take a bit of a gamble and hope I don't kill my camera. So let's get you pegged down nicely. Alright, so I'm going to do this in a separate take just to help my editing. So we have our trigger device, Mr. Bong Torch. So let's cut this and go to a new cut for editing. Alright, so what you're about to see now is probably going to be the end footage. Let's see how this works. There's a hole in the back to ignite this. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Alright, let's go watch this back. Alright, so I had to run around my shed and pick up little pieces from everywhere, and I ended up having to laser cut the ones I lost. So let's go and repack this for round 2. Alright, so I'm setting up for round 2. This time I'm going to try for a high speed film. I'd love to get the 960 frames a second that this camera will do, but I don't think I'm going to get it to synchronize. I've had practice in the past doing that, and I've got literally 1 second at 960 frames. However, I've got a much better chance at getting 120 frames a second. I think is going to be my better shot, and I think that will be slowed down just enough to be acceptable for a YouTube intro video. So let's get our camera positioned properly here. Need a Hawking Great Blobber Blue Tack. It's way over the other side of the workshop. Alright. Let's go back here. Let's get everybody positioned. Alright, I think about there is good. Now we need our lighting in position. That looks about good. Alright, now time to switch to 120 frames. And I've got DC lighting here, so we shouldn't see flicker from that. Let's try mode switch. Here goes nothing. Alright, time to pack it in for round 3. I'll try for 900 frames this time. Doing things a little bit differently this time because I'm going for a 960 frame test. See if I can get lucky. And I've poked a little bit of the gun cotton through the back here just to help the ignition a little bit more. Because the last couple of times I've done this, there's been a significant delay. So I've done it at my normal 60 frames. Now I've done it at 120. Let's try for 960. I've got enough to try a few more times of this, but I do need to do it in a different direction so I can push this with this hand, the Mr. Bong torch, and I can push the shutter button with this hand here, which is not working quite right. So synchronization's always been a problem traditionally with these, and it's taken me a lot of attempts to get it right. So hopefully we can do this right this time and I won't lose an eye. Just right. Okay. I have a shed full of little pieces of timber, other bits and pieces, but holy crap, I got it first time. Perfectly in frame, perfectly the right number of frames. I don't think I've ever got an event that accurately on my first attempt in 960 frames a second. That's going to be the money shot. This has been like a half a day's work, but I think it paid off. I'm really, really, really happy. So, looks like I've got another repair coming in. I better check that out. But yeah, I'll be back. I'm going to play on the end of this video just some of the different attempts we tried at different logos, and hopefully some of them you'll like. Maybe you can vote. I'll put a number next to each one. You guys can leave a comment and tell me which ones you like.